I wonder who that is. Are you looking for Tristan? Tristan!
No, I'm actually looking for you.
You're looking for me? Why are you looking for me?
I'm trying to be Batman.
That's not very nice. Can I help you with something, or can you go off my effing front porch?
Oh, I'm looking to send you stuff for the high school. Football.
No. Goodbye.
Hey everyone, Tristan. I am trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. So please make sure that you share the videos with your friends, subscribe, like, and comment, and hit that notification bell. And thank you for making this possible. Well, hello guys. How the heck are you? It is Tristan here, and today we are going to be talking about the most scariest thing about being a cyclist. The scary story. So there was this elderly lady that lived in my neighborhood, and she that lived in my old neighborhood. No, we're talking past tense, because I don't live there now, but I used to live there. So there was this lady that lived in the neighborhood. I don't know who this elderly lady is, but she was like maybe in her 80s, and she had a wiener dog, and she had someone come and take care of her, because she's an elderly woman, and she lived in that house for a good bit, and she mostly stuck to herself, and she was somebody who was your typical grandma, or typical all kinds of things. So she was an elderly lady, and she was very nice and everything, and she had a lot of friends, and this well, she didn't have, she was, she had known people, and she's probably the neighborhood native, if that makes sense. Like she's lived in that neighborhood for years, and pretty much that's what she did. Now, yeah. So then this one day I was riding my bike, and it was dark out. Well, it was getting dusk out. It was sort of dark. There was a guy who was talking to her, and she was on her front porch sitting. A guy had stopped me saying that if I had seen and this was when I was in high school, had seen that if I had seen a man in a not white pickup, but a red pickup out in her driveway or outside of her home, I'm like, I didn't really notice it that much. I mean, I didn't even notice a red pickup truck. I mean, I mostly don't even pay attention. I mean, when I would ride my bike in that neighborhood, I would know where all the cars belong to. Like, for example, if there's one house that has a Toyota Camry in the driveway, and let's say the wife drives that, and then the husband drives a Chevy Tahoe, and I know where all those cars of whose houses they belong to and who's likely driving them. Now in the neighborhood, you would get visitors, and you wouldn't know whose car is with whose, and it would be something that I would pay attention to, but I wouldn't necessarily pay attention to everybody's visitor. I mean, I would mostly see things, but I don't even see things suspicious. Like, years ago, we first moved in our house in Virginia Beach. There was a guy who was walking around the neighborhood, and he was looking in people's windows. And this guy was not wearing a disguise. He had a second shirt, like on his shoulder. And I don't know who this guy is, but this guy was picked up something that this something ain't right. I mean, you got some guy walking around looking in people's windows of their houses, and you don't know what they could be doing. And to set up a trap for this guy, and we had just moved in, and we had everything put in the garage, and I had the garage open, I was just standing there. Well, that guy slowly paces and is looking at me, nothing's saying anything, and that was very suspicious. That was the only thing I noticed. Now, that's what's happened. And let me bring up an example of all of that, of how it makes sense, and what could be senior citizens going through. So anyway, then after I tell them that, hey, saying that, oh, there's a guy around 7:30 in the morning, and I'm like, I'm not here at 7:30 in the morning. I leave the house at 6. What was it? 40? Yeah. And I'm at the bus stop. Now, a year prior, I was in middle school, and the bus, and you'd have to be at the bus till 8:30 in the morning. So I wasn't aware. So then I, and it's like, well, I'm just telling you that. I'm just telling you just to be on the lookout. I'm like, alright, I'll do that. And I'm like, this is just crazy. And because I'm kind of nervous, I'm like, I don't want to get involved in someone else's issues with some guy going around. I mean, they could see me as a witness and could harass me and harass my mom and harass, the guy, which the guy would just be like, no! He's a pacifist, he doesn't really, I didn't want to get involved, and I'm sure that the guy did not want me to get involved. He said,
Tristan, you know what? You can't necessarily help people, and it's in your best interest to stay away from that, okay? Because if whomever they're trying to find and whomever they're looking for, if they see you, then they could go and harass you. And we've lived in this neighborhood for about maybe 3 effing years, and we don't need to deal with it. Okay? And if I were to see anything, and if I see anything active, then I would make an announcement and call the police. Do you understand? And it's in your best interest to do that.
Now, there was a elderly gentleman who lives in an elderly neighborhood, and he knows everybody. He has a key to everyone's house, and he notices everything. And there was a neighbor that lived, because they live in a duplex, and and their neighbor was next door. She was inside of her home calling for help. So what he does is he goes and unlocks the door and goes in so they can get to her. And supposedly she was passed out in a bedroom or something, and she had fallen and couldn't get back up. So they ended up taking her to the hospital. Now as this elderly gentleman's walking around, he goes and opens up a fence and goes in someone's backyard, just randomly. I don't know why he went in his backyard, but he was a very trusted person, and so that's why it's important that they take care of us. Like with that elderly lady that lived in that neighborhood, she was out more. Normally I would just wave at her and go on about my business. Well then, she, throughout that time, she goes and stops me this one day and asks if I can untangle her dog, which I did just that. Well then what happened was after that was she had went and had me go, and so then there was this one day, and I was still on, and this was still around like 2017-ish. She had said that she would pay me a certain amount of money to help her walk her dog. And, because I go and ride my bike around the neighborhood, she thinks she wants me to walk her dog. Well, it was my freshman year, and, as much as I would like to do that, it's that I have been, dealing with high school, and it was my first year in high school, and I don't want to, rush or anything like that. And there were some days where I would have homework and I would get them done during the weekend or something, or at night. And plus her dog is not even used to me, and I think it's best. She ain't necessarily, she had someone taking care of it and everything, and she just went and just took care of it. But I just couldn't do it because I just wasn't I just had so much going on during the year that I didn't want to take up any larger responsibilities because I didn't know how it was going to turn out or how long I'm going to do it, And I mean, I'm just a high school, and, I'm gone pretty much the whole day, I'm gone pretty much the whole day. I mean, I'm only outside, when I get home, and I'm pretty much gone during that. From 6:40 to 2:30, and I don't necessarily have the time to do it in the morning because I don't want to get up earlier than 6 o'clock. I mean, getting up at 6 o'clock every single day, it's a struggle because I don't like getting up early. It's dark out. It's not a good feeling when it's dark out and you have to get up really early. But yeah, man. So then after that, she only stayed there about maybe a year after. Then she was moved out of there. I don't know what happened to her. I don't know if she had passed away or if she was put into a nursing home. But yeah, so it's very important that you take great care of, But going back to the original reason why I'm talking about this, I don't know if she had passed away or if she was put into a nursing home. But yeah, so it's very important that you take great care of, But going back to the original reason why I'm talking about this is because it's just a lot to deal with, and I mean, I don't want to get involved in someone else's problems, like with domestic violence, because if they know that you're a witness, they could come after you, so they don't likely get charged. But I did not see anything about a pickup truck little guy. But I can tell you, in that neighborhood, there were some fishy characters. Like, there were tons of solicitors that would go into that neighborhood. There were solicitors that would, come up to your door and try to sell you stuff. It's crazy. Because with solicitors coming up to your door and wanting to sell you stuff, I can tell you some pretty weird stories, just not in that neighborhood, but everywhere else. Like, one time when we lived in West Virginia, I was putting up fall decorations outside, right? And there was this preacher of some kind. I don't know who it was, but it was some kind of preacher that came by. And there was some kind of like preacher, I don't know, like a pastor, I don't even know what it was about, but next thing you know, there's some guy standing in our garage with some kid, and he's like going about, oh, how this young man, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes you get religious people showing up to your door, sometimes you get people selling stuff. There was a friend of mine who would every high school year come up to people's doors and would try to sell them stuff for their high school or something. And they didn't even, it was just ridiculous nonsense with the things. And it's not like you can Because, I mean, when I tell you, this guy was standing in the garage, like, a little bit past the garage door. I'm like, nobody should come into your garage, okay? They go to your front door. If you don't want somebody coming in the garage, you just tell them you don't come in my garage. But this guy was actually in the garage. And then another time, there were these creepy, weird solicitors in that same exact West Virginia neighborhood. And they come up they are at our front door. And this was before we had the little thing where you can't see in. There was a guy who showed up with another guy. And this guy had a cigarette mounted on his ear, right? And I am like, what the heck? And I am like, what the heck is that? And this guy is looking into the windows and he sees me standing at the top of the stairs, like at the railing, at the top of the stairs. I'm like, oh my goodness. Because, I mean, if there's someone who you don't know who's coming up to your front door and they want to bother you and you don't want to answer, then they should just leave. Now, consider the fact that there was a house across the street, 2 houses over. Then the people answered the door, and they had like a good 10-minute talk about whatever they were doing, and they were having a good 10-minute talk about everything that they were doing. And there was another guy standing in their flower bed, just like looking into their house window. Like, what's this guy doing? Is he scoping out their house because they're trying to see if they have anything valuable? I mean, that's how serious you need to take solicitors, or anybody who's on your property. Because if you don't know somebody, then best not answer the door. And, you know, I mean, I find it very creepy that they would actually go and look in through our window. Now, of course, where the house window we had in the front of the house, of that specific house, had curtains, so you couldn't actually see it. But if they were to walk all the way around the house towards the back of that, onto the deck, and we had that sliding glass door, they could be looking in there, looking for valuables. I mean, that's how serious it is, because, you know, it's not a good thing when that happens. You have to be aware of your surroundings. And if you see somebody at your door and they come around and look through your windows, then call the cops. But you can do. You know, and I have had people who have come up and uninvite themselves. I mean, like one time there was a kid that walked in through our front door. And my mom and I were not there. But there was some kid that walked in the front door and was in the living room and said, "Hey guys, I'm here." And you know, mean man named Mark. He's like, "Get the heck out of there." Yeah. He's like, "Get the heck out of there." And I mean, trust me, that's why you need to have your door locked. I mean, it's just crazy that anybody would do that. I mean, you have to be careful. I mean, there were all the time these solicitors going up to our house in Virginia Beach. Like, one time there was a solicitor that came to the door, and, one time there was a solicitor that came up to the door and had, and apparently was doing like some religious thing, and my mom went and told her off, and gave my mom a mean look. I mean, one time we were in the garage and some guy was at the end of the driveway offering to sell stuff. But the thing is, those solicitors would never bother me. They would never bother me. I mean, they would never bother me. And, you know, they would never bother me. I mean, they wouldn't stop me on my bike as I'm riding around. They wouldn't do any of that. I mean, it's just weird. It's just weird, and you just got to be aware of those solicitors. Which in that neighborhood, soliciting is illegal. And, you know, people have been telling them to leave, stop soliciting. Like, it would be, like, all the time, there would be solicitors and people who would go up and sell you stuff. I mean, you know, like, it's crazy. Like, you know, like one time, one of my friends, they're not really my friend now, had, came up to the front door, and, you know, and the guy opens it up, and I'm gonna go ahead and rehearse it.
I wonder who that is. Are you looking for Tristan? Tristan!
No, I'm actually looking for you.
You're looking for me? Why are you looking for me?
I'm trying to be Batman.
That's not very nice. Can I help you with something, or can you get off my effing front porch?
Oh, I'm looking to send you stuff for the high school football.
No. Goodbye.
Alrighty then. So yeah, so that's the whole story about, you know, like solicitors and me having that encounter and all of that. I mean, it's very interesting that this is what occurs. So yeah, so anyway guys, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and sub, and I'll see you guys in the video. So yeah, and we're trying to reach 1,000 subs. So please, let's get there.
Let's get there.